Where the fuck is McClay?
What are you two doing? Oh, I know.
Welcome to the Bogcast, episode 97, Audrareneweeks.
And you can just set it down. Perfect. All right, good.
Is this what we all do?
This thing's gonna fucking kill me, dude. I've already had like 6 coffees, a latte. This might fucking do it.
Yeah. All right, action.
Awesome. This is the Bogcast, episode 97. I'm Keith Obit with my best friend, Brian McClay. We are brought to you by Bang Salon. Come get all your hair needs, including cuts, natural colors, vivid colors, extensions, shampoo and stylings, all under one roof at Bang Salon. Find and message Bang Salon on Instagram at Bang Salon, at BANGDSALON. Use promo code
Bogcast
for 20% off your first visit. So come on down and get banged by Jordan. But if you really try to bang her, I'll fucking kill you. Cool.
Also, check out our Spotify, our iTunes, our Google Play, all that fun stuff. Most importantly, go to patreon.com/thebogcast and support us. It's the lowest tier, I think, is like $36 a year, $3 a month. You can't beat that. It's a way for you guys to support us. As a matter of fact, we have a new Patreon member.
Yes, we do. Her name is Francesca Gouchnauer. So we appreciate you signing up and being a Patreon member. We'll be sending you out all the nice goodies here soon. So thanks again for... she's actually our very second Patreon member. We actually still need to thank our very first Patreon member, and that is Jordan Earl.
Not bad.
So thanks, Jordan, for being our very first and number one supporter of the podcast. I love you, babe.
Amen. And also, make sure you guys check out Mellow by Design, mellowbydesign.com, for all your natural homeopathic CBD needs. Listen, if you guys haven't jumped on the CBD train, there's something wrong. Look at CBD. My advice would get involved in the CBD and the THC game, but I get it. People out there are a little weary. CBD works. Cannabis works. It works immensely to help a lot of the issues that we deal with on a regular basis, and also those people who are dealing with tough times, like emergency things. So make sure you guys check out mellowbydesign.com. They've got sleep stuff, they've got pain stuff, they've got salve, they've got tinctures, they've got all that stuff. mellowbydesign.com. As a matter of fact, they have a new website coming up soon. I believe it's almost ready to go, if not ready at this point.
We don't have a launch date?
Bogcastcbd.com. So bogcastcbd.com for all your Mellow by Design needs.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Hell yeah, thanks, McClay. We have an awesome guest in the house today. She's the author of Moving Mountains, A Hero's Journey. Joining us today is Audrareneweeks. How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
We're doing great. Glad that you finally came on the show. Really appreciate you taking time to come out here. And so you could actually get this everywhere now on Amazon, right?
Yep. It's on Amazon. Ready to roll.
So you could get the physical copy. There's also
The Kindle version.
The Kindle version.
You can choose the soft cover or the hard cover.
Oh, nice.
That's very cool.
So I definitely get this on Amazon as soon as you can. So first off, what, inspired you to write this book?
Well, I was going through cognitive therapy, and I was sharing that journey on Facebook with my Facebook followers, and I was getting really honest and real with what was going on with me and what that journey looked like. And I had a lot of people reach out to me privately and on the comments on Facebook, telling me that what I was doing was helping them and that they loved seeing my journey unfold. And in the private messages, people would tell me, like, they would share their stories with me, and they're like, I've never told anyone that before. And it made me realize that that when we use our voices, we're giving other people permission to use theirs. And that meant a lot to me. And then I had a lot of people like, you need to start a blog. And I'm like, oh, hell no, no. And then it was like, okay, well, then you need to read a book. And I was still like, hell no. But then I decided after I finished cognitive therapy and got through, because it was pretty stressful and traumatic going through the cognitive therapy, like becoming so aware of what I had been carrying around for decades.
And that's basically what cognitive therapy is. Can you explain cognitive therapy for the people that don't understand what that is?
Cognitive therapy is it's talk therapy, and it's basically like a cognitive recognition of what you've been through. And so I did cognitive reframing. So when I talked about my traumas and the core beliefs that I carried because of those traumas started coming to the surface, we reframed those beliefs, because when we have these core beliefs, we literally, our whole life is a reflection of these core beliefs. We draw in people and experiences that are going to validate what we believe as our core beliefs.
And a good example of that, just me throwing shit at the wall. A good example of that is like religious dogma, right? A lot of religious beliefs, people say, oh, when like perfect example is divorce. A lot of people who follow the Catholicism or of the Catholic faith, they look at divorce and say, I can never get divorced, and they live their whole life in a horrible relationship. So that's something that is very important to remember, that you can things change. Nothing in this world is black and white, and that situations change. You can retrain yourself. On how to think.
Yeah, you can. And what's interesting about that, what you were just talking about, is a lot of times people's beliefs around religion, politics, like all the core things that people have going on in their life, all those beliefs that they have were handed to them, were instilled in them. And people don't realize, they don't take a minute and say, wow, is that what I really believe? Or is that what someone told me I'm supposed to believe? So it never, like, it's bizarre how it never occurs to us to question our beliefs and say, where did this come from? Why do I believe this?
Oh, thank you for saying that. That is one of my, Keith knows this is one of my core feelings, is that always question. Like, especially when it comes to like religion and stuff like that. Like if you believe in the Christian faith, one of Jesus's main reasons that he got so angry is because people were following the Pharisees blindly. They were taking anything they said and saying, that's
true. We're talking about religion.
Well, because that's the same thing. When people, there's certain things that people say, they grew up and their parents said, for instance, being gay is wrong. It's a deadly sin. We don't fucking believe that anymore, And
right.
And so that's a perfect. I'm so glad you said that. Those things can change.
They can. Yep. When you believe fully into something, I think it's good to practice the pause and ask yourself, why do I believe this? Is it something that I read? Is it something that I experienced? Or is it just something that someone told me? This is how it is.
Yes.
What got you into the cognitive therapy in the first place?
So after I got divorced, I started dating again, probably 2 or 3 years after I got divorced. And I started recognizing this pattern that I kept having with the dating partners. And it was literally like I was dating the same person, but they were different people. And they were all validating beliefs that I had about myself. Like I had enough awareness to realize like what was happening, that I was patterning, but I didn't know why I was patterning like that. So when I went to school for hypnotherapy, I got certified in hypnotherapy. I learned a lot about how the brain works, how the subconscious mind works. And so I could see enough to know that there was some sort of patterning, but I didn't understand why. And I knew that I did not want to keep experiencing that kind of relationship. I knew who I was as a person, and I knew I deserved to
You had more value. And
yeah. But at my core, I didn't believe I had that value. I knew in my mind I had value, but in my heart, I didn't believe that.
And there's a lot of people stuck like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's important to talk about it, because it's, I get, very therapeutic, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Especially writing the book.
Yeah, that the book was very therapeutic. It was really healing, but I'll tell you what, man, there was a lot of times where I didn't want to show up for life. I was done. You know, like some of the stuff in the book.
It was hard to revisit.
It was really hard to revisit. Yeah, there's a lot of trauma.
Well, would you suggest other people who went through the similar trauma writing it out? Like, is it the overall benefit worth it?
Absolutely. Because
even if it's not to be published, maybe if it's just a diary.
Absolutely. You know what I mean?
Journaling or something.
Yeah. If writing is a way to release it from your body. So if you never talk about it, or you don't write about it, or you don't even acknowledge it, you harbor it, you store it inside your body, and it can make you physically sick. And so writing is a good way to literally release it from your body. At least start moving it.
Yeah. I'm trying to incorporate writing more into my life, not necessarily personal stuff, but like, I feel like that if I did, like you said, there's like my whole body would just feel better. Just that extra tension's released, you know, because of how therapeutic it is, right?
Well, not only that, another thing people don't realize is how painful stress is, not just mentally, but physically, like you say. Stress.
Yeah, you hold it in your body.
Mental stress can cause as much damage as physical stress physically. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it can kill you faster, in my opinion. Like that mental stress is the worst, but it causes you're 100% right. It causes physical damage.
So how long did you do the cognitive therapy? Sorry, I'm mumbling my fucking words here.
So the program I did was a 12-week program, and it was really intense. So there was like a lot of homework required from me. The first assignment was writing out in as much detail as I could all the traumas. And then from there, it was basically speaking them out loud, my therapist listening to me, hearing what I had to say about it. And she started making a list of the core beliefs that she heard that I had just from me talking. And then I did assignments on breaking those core beliefs down and figuring out where they came from, and then challenging them as to why they're not true, or sometimes core beliefs are just mistaken beliefs. Like,
can you give an example of a core belief? Maybe not necessarily yours.
I'm not enough.
Yeah.
So I took that core belief on when I was younger, and my dad, he was in my life, but he wasn't in my life. So I don't want to like dog on my dad, because I love him and I have a great relationship with him now. But unfortunately, in my generation, there's a lot of dads that they worked all the time. Yes. And their role was to provide financially for the family. That's what society expected from them.
They would work Monday through Friday and then usually just drink their ass off from fucking Friday night to Monday.
Yeah.
And that was like the cycle.
Yep. So I started believing that I wasn't enough. Like I wasn't worth spending time with. I wasn't worth getting to know.
Did you have brothers and you have brothers and sisters?
I do. And I was the youngest I actually have 6 siblings, but one of them lived back east. So I grew up with 6 other siblings, or 5 other siblings. So it was a hectic household.
And you're the youngest, you said?
Yep, I was the youngest.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Usually though, the youngest is the one that gets doted on, but I don't know, maybe in larger families that's not the case.
I wouldn't say that it wasn't that I didn't get doted on. It was more that for a girl, that relationship with your father is the very first experience that you have with the opposite sex. And so that relationship is kind of like a way shower of the relationships in your future. So if your dad is validating that you're important, that you're special, that you're worth investing in, like that's the beliefs that you're going to take about yourself, and you're going to choose men that are going to validate that you're special, that you're worth investing in. And my dad wasn't around enough to instill that within me. I didn't walk away from that relationship when I was younger believing that I was worth it.
That's sad.
And you found that out in the therapy?
I did.
Yeah,
I knew that I
sorry.
had daddy issues prior to therapy, and I worked through a lot of that during hypnotherapy when I was in school for hypnotherapy, because we did a lot of work with each other as students, and I did a lot of hypnosis regarding that, because I knew that my dad did the best he could, and that it was not.
It's like, yeah, you can't blame him.
No.
Yeah, because
So-
like he just did what he thought was right.
Yeah, and it wasn't like he didn't love me
Yeah,
and he
no,
was
yeah, I know what you mean.
abusive. It was just that he wasn't there. He
Yeah.
didn't show up. And I think that if he would have known what I would take away from that, he would have definitely done better. But how do you know that until you grow up
Yes.
and you're facing it?
Yeah. Did you have any other male figures in your life that, I mean, did you have an older brothers sometimes that also helps when you have older male figures in your life.
So I had 4 brothers that were older. 2 of them were significantly older. So they were off doing the high school thing when I was real little. And then I had twin brothers that were about probably, I think, like 5-year difference. But they picked on me. Oh my gosh. So they did not help my core beliefs at all.
Are you cool with him now?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I picked on my sister really fucking
And I
bad,
did the same
and
thing to
I
my
feel
brother.
horrible.
Yeah.
Like I did some fucked up shit. Like just really mean things. You know what I mean? Like I would scare the shit out of her. At that time, I thought it was hilarious, but now, I'm like, fuck. I'm sorry, Brenda.
Yeah. I
You don't know when you're a kid.
I will be honest that I do have like some body image issues that I think that I still carry because of that teasing. But we don't know until we know.
Yeah, you're right.
We
you're just
don't-
dumb kid. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You don't fucking.
You do better when you know better.
Yeah.
So I don't hold it against my brothers.
That's
I
good.
think-
I hope my sister doesn't. hold it
Yeah,
against me.
yeah. I don't know. There's certain things that I think that happen to you when you're young that you hold so much more. Like if something happened to me, there's certain things in my life that when they happened to me as a kid, it probably happened to me in later life that it really didn't affect me, but it still affects me today at certain times. The same thing that happened to me when I was a kid. You know what I mean? So when you're so young, that shit is just it sticks with you.
Well, you don't know how to process through it.
Yes.
You don't have the logic as a child to say, well, they don't really mean it. You don't have a logic. Or kids don't have that logic to process through and say, well, they would do better if they knew better. You just don't have it. So you take everything as it's reality and it's real, and you take it personal. And, like my brothers used to tease me because I had red hair and freckles. Like when you're younger, red hair is not.
Yeah.
But then when you get older, it's
Yes.
a whole different ballgame.
Yes.
I used to tease my sister. She had a mole on her forehead. You know what I mean? And I just feel horrible just for making fun of her. You know what I mean? Like, because you said, young women have body, image issues and stuff like that, and I don't know, I just fucking feel so horrible for doing those kinds of things. But the funny thing is, or it's maybe not funny, but I had enough logic to know that if anyone else did that to my sister, I will fuck you up.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like no one else could do that.
Yeah.
I could be mean as shit to you, but
Yeah.
no one else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
That's you know what I call that with my little brother? It's called the big brother rule.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's
Yeah,
a big
the
brother rule.
Yeah.
I mean, still to this day, I still get shotgun. You know what I mean? Like that's just the
Yeah,
way
my
it
sister would
works.
never get shotgun.
Yeah.
Like, fuck that.
Yeah.
I'd be so mad if my mom let her have shotgun.
All right, so I want to get back to you putting where you were at when you were putting your stuff on Facebook, or writing it out and being public with it. That had to be
This is right after the cognitive therapy, right?
I was posting during cognitive therapy.
Okay.
wow.
But the first time you wrote was that first time you said in the class, right? Was that the first time you started writing it out?
Yeah, and it was absolutely not even remotely close to the detail that I have in my book.
Yeah.
Not even remotely
Well, I mean, I'm saying, but
close.
that first time must have been like, holy
Like
shit.
like in what way? Like you didn't want to write the bad stuff?
It was more kind of like I was just, I don't know if dictate's the right word, but I was basically just saying what happened to me. There wasn't a lot of I wasn't supposed to, as far as I knew, write like all the emotions around it and what I was going through emotionally or mentally. I was supposed to just write out the trauma, like the actual event.
And I'll be honest, you know, you're
Yeah,
talking
quit
about
grabbing the
how
mic, McClay.
you're talking about how you were how it is in your book. Like the first 7 sentences of this book.
Can we read that?
Yeah, I mean,
Go
do you
ahead.
mind?
Yeah, read it.
Do you mind reading it? Can you read it out loud?
Oh,
Well, you don't
boy.
have
No,
to.
we don't
I
have to
don't
put you on the
mind.
spot.
I don't mind. Yeah.
You read it.
I mumble.
Okay. This is hardcore, guys. This is really hardcore. It's actually kind of like thinking about reading. I'll be honest. It's thinking about reading this in front of you is kind of it's kind of got my heart racing a little bit. All right. Chapter 1, My Mountains. We aren't made to live in the shadow of daunting, haunting mountains. We are made to move them. Elizabeth Griffin. When I was 7 years old, one of my brothers was in a life-altering accident. When I was 8, that brother committed a violent suicide. Right around the time I turned 14, my stepfather told me of his desire to molest me. When I was in junior high school, he actually tried to. When I was 17 years old, a peer raped me while I was unconscious. When I was barely 20, an uncle attempted to murder me in my sleep because I was in the way. Just that right there. Unbelievable.
That's chapter 1.
That just right there, I mean, you're putting yourself out there. How
Yeah.
long did it take you to get to the point to where you could, I mean, where you were talking about that publicly on Facebook, stuff like that right there?
When I was talking on Facebook, it wasn't necessarily like the details of the traumas. It was more of what I was learning in therapy, what I was realizing about myself, the awareness that was kind of coming forth from examining, like actually facing the traumas. I didn't give a lot of details to the traumas. There's, like, I posted after I
Can you talk about some of those takeaways from the therapy?
Sure. After I wrote about my brother, the one that committed suicide, I had went and visited his grave because I felt like one of the beliefs I took away from that was that we forgot about him because we didn't talk about it in our house. It was too hard for my mom to talk about. So we all just walked on eggshells and we didn't talk about it. So to an 8-year-old, that looks like you just forgot about somebody. And I had a lot of feelings around that. And I don't believe that you have to go to someone's grave to commune with them because my belief is when you die, we're an energy and we're a small portion of energy that is the energy of everything. So when our body dies, we become that energy and that energy is everywhere. So I believe that my brother is everywhere. But I felt like I had to do something, like something physical to acknowledge his existence.
That's like the only thing you can, right?
Yeah, to acknowledge that he was here. And I posted about that. So I had a little more detail with that event, but ultimately my Facebook posts were basically about the awareness that was coming forth, like recognizing when I was patterning, realizing that just because we think it doesn't mean it's true. A lot of times when we're having thoughts, we think that's reality. We're thinking it, we think it's a truth. And a lot of times it's not really reality. It's thoughts that we're having based upon how we're observing a situation. So I talked a lot about how I was kind of like seeing life differently through different lenses, healthier lenses.
Yeah. I think there's some people get to a point in their life where they realize that they get that through the relationships they have with people and how you deal with in relationships, obviously. Mm-hmm. But it's also important for people who are close to you to try and bring that out, you know, like get you used to having those types of good relationships and those healthy relationships.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, it's when you're surrounded by people that are unaware, they can't really teach you awareness, you know? So I had a lot of people around me that were unaware and basically just kind of following what they were taught and passing it down to their kids. And people don't recognize that there's something wrong. They think that that's just the way that life is, you know?
Well, what made you, because you said that you made that jump to therapy, like, how did you come across it and find out about it to even get involved with that?
So I studied psychology when I was in college. So I knew, you know, like how it works. And when I started realizing that I was patterning in my dating relationships, I knew that there was something deeper that I needed to get to the root of. And hypnotherapy in this instance wasn't working for me. And
But you already knew about cognitive therapy or...
I didn't really know about cognitive therapy, but I found a therapist, and then on our initial appointment, our intake appointment, we talked about different choices that I had, and I thought cognitive would be the best because it's talk therapy, it's speaking it out. And when I was little, I never felt like I had a voice. I had to just say I'm okay with a smile and move on with my life, and that's what was expected of me because in my family, we didn't talk about the hard stuff. So, and I also learned when my brother died, you know, not talking about it because it was too painful for my mom. When something's painful or is going to make somebody else uncomfortable, you need to be quiet. And so that's how I grew up thinking. So when all these hard things were happening, those are uncomfortable subjects for...
So probably because of that, you just learned everything you need to keep quiet then, right?
Pretty
so
much.
All these other traumatic things that happened, you just felt lonely.
I felt very alone.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The only one that I really couldn't hide was when my uncle tried to kill me. Like I had so much PTSD that I couldn't hide it. Like nightmares or nightmares while I was awake. There were things that I couldn't cover up in that.
Is this guy in prison or anything for this?
He actually died in prison.
He died in prison?
Mm-hmm.
Did he go to prison for this?
He did. And when they caught him, it took them 2 days to catch him. And when they caught him, he took a plea agreement because he had murdered a client of his in California. And he signed a plea agreement that he would do a videotaped confession of that murder to take the death penalty off the table and also lessen the charges in Arizona from attempted murder to aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
When you say, wait, real quick, when you say clientele, what was he?
He was a lawyer.
What the fuck? He was a lawyer that murdered his client?
Mm-hmm. He embezzled money from her account. And they had a friendship, and she noticed it and confronted him. And he said, I was going to put it back. And this is me just kind of ad-libbing what was said. But he said that he had the money to pay back. He was going to put it back before she noticed. And he gave her a check. Well, the check was no good. So he went to her house and looking for that check, and he beat her to death in her sleep.
And this is before he did what he did to you?
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Yeah.
How close of an uncle was he?
By marriage.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, okay.
So when did he come into your life?
I had known him. I'm going to say like 12 or 13. Yeah, probably like 12 or 13, maybe 14. But they lived in California, so it was kind of just knowing him on visits. And then when my aunt had their 2 daughters, I went both times after she had them and helped her for like a couple weeks. So and he was a really nice guy. Like, you would never guess it. He was fascinated with Ted Bundy. So he had read Ted Bundy's book like over a dozen times. Yeah.
This is like a true time documentary.
Yeah, the whole thing was on a current affair, the show Current Affair.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yep. And they were going to do a movie about it, but it never unfolded. So, yeah, it was
How do you How do you feel about that? Like people wanting to make a movie about that. Are you like, would you be against that, or like people glorifying? Do you like that as glorifying? Does that make sense, or would you not want a movie made about?
I think it's
being so close to the, you know.
I know when I watched everything on A Current Affair, I felt it wasn't that long after.
Like, why give this guy more attention is what I'm trying to say.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's in how you look at it. You could see it as, well, it's giving this criminal attention, or you can see it as trying to bring awareness
Yeah, totally.
to people on this is, you know, you don't know people sometimes. And I mean, hopefully they're saying something that's going to teach people how to see things differently rather than just as some story for entertainment. But I will say, when I watched they did a reenactment of what happened to me, watching it was really, because I see this stranger, this person I don't even know, playing my role, and I'm realizing that it's just a script to this person, but I actually experienced it and lived through it, and it was really hard to see. Kind of like it was an out-of-body experience. Like if I were to be out of my body and looking at it when it was happening, like I felt like I was watching. It was just very weird.
That's very interesting to me, because I do acting jobs on the side, and I've played in 4 true crime docs, you know, roles just like that. And I've always wondered, like, I've played like the murderer, I've played the victim. I've always wondered like what the families and the people think of me playing that. It's interesting to hear that side of the story, you know?
Yeah, I think now, I don't know that I would feel the same way about it, but then it was literally, I don't even know if it was 6 months after it happened, you know?
So do you mind, what happened?
So he came into my aunt's house. They were separated. She had left California. Then he followed her to Payson to be closer to his kids. And things started getting volatile in their relationship. And I was up there helping her with her kids. And he came into the house one night and started with me because I was the only one downstairs. And when they caught him, when they were looking for him, they found a list of scenarios in his trash can, and they were like, take girls killing 4, kill everybody but my aunt as revenge, take girls killing none, like all these different scenarios. And the one that he said, killing everybody but my aunt was the easiest scenario of all.
Holy shit.
And I think that he tried to say that he was just going to knock me out, but this is how I know that's not the truth, because he had a roll of duct tape and a knife, and instead of bringing that into the room that I was in, knock me out and tie me up, you would need the duct tape, right? In the room. He put the duct tape on the stairs. So basically, after he was done with me, he was going to grab that stuff on his way up the stairs. So, and also when he hit me, he clubbed me over the head while I was sleeping, and that club shattered. And so then he started strangling me. And when I opened my eyes and looked at him, I could see his eyes widen, like he panicked that I was not unconscious. So if he was just going to knock me out and he thought I was unconscious, why was he strangling me?
Yeah.
You know, like he was trying to kill me.
Yeah.
I am 100% sure.
How old were you?
20.
And then he like fled, or?
Yeah, I was able to get him off of me. And he fled the house. I was screaming and he fled the house.
And they caught him 2 days later?
Yeah.
And had it come, was he already under investigation for the other murder?
He had been under investigation. He actually.
And you guys all knew about that?
I did not know about that.
You did not know about that.
I did not know about that. And that was something that I had an issue with later.
Hell yeah.
Because like the family didn't tell you, or?
Yeah. I felt like when things started getting volatile,
It's like, motherfuckers, you could have told me that. Yes.
Well, that's how I felt about it. And
They
I
should
know
have protected you. If anything, you shouldn't have been there.
that's kind of how I feel. But, you know, like it played out the way it was supposed to. And I'm alive. I survived it. And if I hadn't have been there, like who would have been the first victim? And would they have survived? Like, I don't know. So, and, you know, we all make mistakes in how we handle things. And, you know, I think that my aunt should have told me that he was potentially a dangerous person. Hey, do you want to, you know, reconsider being here watching the kids? Like, because I was scared. I was having nightmares about him trying to, before this happened, that he was trying to
Really?
Oh,
yes.
shit.
And I had told my mom
Wow.
about it. And she's like, you really need to talk to her. And I'm like, like, I can't, please do not tell her. You know, I don't want to go back up there. Well, my mom had told her. So when I started screaming and I rounded the stairs, they were already, my cousins and my aunt, all but my littlest cousin, were standing there. And she thought I was dreaming. She thought it was a dream. So she was like, well, where did he go? And I said, he went out the kitchen door. And when she saw the kitchen door was ajar, she knew I wasn't dreaming.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Wow.
And this is still just created PTSD to this day, right? But you've learned to control it through all the therapy and stuff, or?
I don't. So there's 4 categories that go with PTSD, and to be clinically diagnosed, you have to have at least one symptom in each category. And I don't have waking flashbacks.
Can you
anymore.
tell? I don't even know all of them.
Well, one is like, oh boy.
Putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I'll just say that there's a category that is basically flashbacks, and I don't have those anymore.
Okay.
So I wouldn't be clinically diagnosed as having PTSD.
They don't consider like nightmares flashbacks. Do you have nightmares about it?
No, I don't have nightmares about it anymore. Yeah.
How long did that take for that to end?
Looking back on it, I would say that I had full-blown PTSD for 7 years after that event. And now I have like traumatic symptoms is what they're called.
How do you deal with it during that 7 years?
Drugs.
Yeah.
For most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I dealt with it. I didn't. So.
Did you ever try psychedelic drugs to deal with any kind of the trauma?
I have been actually investigating that a little bit. I'm really, really interested in that because I think that when you experience severe trauma, that it literally echoes through to layers that we don't tap into hardly ever in our life, but it is so deep and heavy that it penetrates so far down, and we are good at building barriers against that stuff down there. And in order to actually I think a good method to reach those really dark places would be a psychedelic, because
For sure.
It's a reset.
it is a reset, and
yeah.
it helps break down those walls so that stuff can even come up to begin with.
And I'll be completely honest, it might not be fun while you're on the trip, but the next day when you wake up, it'll be totally worth it because you'll face some shit.
Yeah. The only thing that has, like I have a reservation about is, so when I was under the influence of alcohol, like I was so intoxicated that I had no control over my body, and I was raped. And so there's a small fear that I have, you know, like I would be extremely mindful on the facilitating of it, because
Set and setting.
That's what I was just going to say. That's what it's all about, is
100%.
the set and
Yeah.
setting, the people you do it with, the intention.
Gotta
You
have
set
your
an
loved ones
intention
there.
before you do it. There's a lot of things that go along with it, not just fucking taking it. You know?
It's
Right.
it's sad because in all honesty, it's when a lot of people first experience psychedelics, it's not in a good set and setting. It's a party.
Well, usually
drug.
you're a dumb
Yeah.
kid. Well, at least I
yeah.
was, and teenager and just took it to have fun.
But
I did it in high school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't do it because you were trying to have this like profound experience. You were doing it because you probably wanted to just have fun and laugh and get fucked up, right?
I wanted to trip.
Me too. Now I do it for both. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the laughing and giggling part, but I mean, I just said this on the last podcast.
There's certain psychedelics though that, listen, there's certain psychedelics in my opinion. I don't care if you take a heroic dose of mushrooms holds nothing on other psychedelics. So there's certain psychedelics in my opinion that are meant for healing at a deeper level.
You're talking about DMT?
Yeah.
So
I think the
that's
same
something
thing will
I
happen.
I want to
like,
experience DMT.
For example, you could flip the fuck out on DMT facing some demonic shit.
Yeah.
Like for example, I forgot who it was. He's a UFC fighter who they had to literally put him in a fucking chokehold because he was flipping out so bad. And then he realized when he was born, he almost choked to death from the umbilical cord, and he was reliving that experience from the DMT, and that caused him trauma his whole life. But after the DMT experience, he fucking felt like less stress, and he actually broke through, and it was worth it.
And that's exactly what I'm saying is that.
I thought you were saying that like DMT will like I'm make
saying
it more fun. Or
no, I'm saying that in my opinion, if I look at things like mushrooms and acid, I think of those are the fun drugs. I look at DMT like if I take mushroom or acids, I'm 90%.
When's the last time you've actually taken mushroom and acids? Honestly,
10 years.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, 10 years.
You're due.
I know I'm due, bro. Listen, set and setting.
Pusher.
Yeah.
I love fucking
setting.
convincing people to do drugs.
Here's the other thing. Let's be honest here.
This motherfucker talks about psychedelics every podcast, and he hasn't done it for fucking 10 years. What the fuck?
He gets me to try to do DMT live on the camera and doesn't even do it with me.
Because it didn't work.
Yeah. So anyways, but I will say that you're 100% right. DMT is it's a deeper healing, and when you go through deep healing, you have to experience some emotions. You're gonna experience emotions. You know what I mean? That guy kind of tripped out. I get it.
You know what I realized too is the psychedelics will find you. Like when I was in LA, I was wanting to do DMT so bad. I was asking everybody. I was like, "Can you get DMT? Can you get DMT?" And this one guy goes, "Hey, bro, the DMT will find you. Like you don't search for the DMT. Like you'll be ready. You'll know when you're ready."
Yeah.
And I was like, "He's right. What the fuck?" Like so I stopped searching and shit. And then 2 weeks later, like it popped up.
Yep.
I was like, "Oh shit."
Also, you say it all the time, is that whatever that is, it will guide you. You know,
the universe will guide you.
The universe will guide
For
you.
sure.
And
that's the most important thing to know when you're on mushroom or any psychedelic is no matter how bad it gets, the universe will guide you.
And it'll get
always
better.
Does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never had a bad experience. But one of my girlfriends, when we did, God, it was mushrooms too. She had a bad experience and I was tripping. So
you had to be a babysitter.
Well, and I was like,
that sucks on psychedelics.
I felt terrible because I was laughing and I'm like, it's going to be okay. And laughing. And she's like freaking out. And I didn't know how to console her because I was like out of my mind, you know? But because I've experienced psychedelics, I think that I understand now.
That's important.
I understand how they could potentially really be
change the world. That's what I think.
For healing.
Yeah.
And they're plants. Yeah. Like it's natural.
You know what? I think they're fucking aliens. I think all fucking mushrooms and fungi are literally from another planet. They are. They seem like aliens.
They're like symbiotic.
Well, I think everything.
Like symbiotic, yeah.
Everything
I seriously
here
think
is
they're
from another planet.
Well, yeah.
We're all created from.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you're right.
100%.
But I think like they're from like a weird different.
Like it has an intelligence of some sort.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
Totally. Like symbiotic. I think that's the best way to put it.
Listen, I tell anybody that I see like a little crack in the door that I have an opening to talk about DMT, I'll talk about DMT with them. And one of the things that I always bring up is the story about that feminine being that shows up to the like 90% of the people. The people that have really reached
God,
that have had broken through there's this feminine being that shows up, and as soon as you see her, for a split second, you're like, who is this? And then you have this feeling you've always known her, not for years, not for your life, for eons. And it's to the soul. Like, it's so real that when people come, it's so real what happens to these people, that people that are horribly afraid of dying, that have a terminal illness, they take DMT and like have like a 90% success rate, where after they take DMT, they're no longer afraid to
mushrooms,
die.
they're actually giving psilocybin to people who are dying of cancer and shit, and to accept death better.
And that goes to the thing. It doesn't matter if you believe it's real or not. When you experience that, you will know.
If you want to see the best transformation, just watch the Mike Tyson podcast.
Have you seen
he
that?
Had Mike Tyson has a podcast called Hot Boxing, and he had a DMT shaman on, and Mike Tyson like, fuck it, I want to do it right now. So it just cuts the black and it says 30 minutes later, and all of a sudden Mike Tyson is fucking filled with love. And it literally changes him on the podcast. And then watch him on the Joe Rogan podcast 2 months later, and he goes on a 20-minute rant how much love he has in his life now, and how he just looks at the world as like one, and just, you could literally see it. And out of all people, Mike fucking Tyson, like DMT changing something. I think that's like the best example.
Yeah, he's totally changed his whole life. I mean, he's a totally different person because of it.
It sounds like when we're living our life, where we get this foundation, like when we're younger, we get our core beliefs, basically a foundation, and the rest of our life we're building this structure on that foundation of the experiences we have and the validating that happens. And it sounds like that experience literally crumbles that structure.
Well, because our whole life, like we're told to keep, like, when you watch like a little kid or a baby, they don't give a fuck how they're acting and stuff, but your whole life you're told to be a certain way, like you're just what you just said. But once you take those psychedelics, everything fucking goes away.
So I want to wrangle this. Can I borrow your lighter? Dude. I'm going to wrangle this back here for a second, because I want to know, so you did the cognitive therapy. What was the moment? Was there a moment in time, in your, like a specific moment, where everything just started clicking, where you're like, all right, this is working? I mean, what was that like?
It was absolutely clicking. It was almost like I was able to see my own life without like all the emotions around it. I was seeing like the behavior, and I actually posted a lot about that on Facebook, and it was really hard because it was very vulnerable to admit, like when people would encounter me, they never knew that I had all that in my life. And I looked like someone who had it all together and smart and, like all these things. And then to kind of like unravel in front of everybody's eyes and start taking off all the masks that I was wearing, that I thought, the society was dictating I had to wear to be worthy. And the mask, like I really tried to put myself out there like I was perfect, and that was an illusion.
That's Facebook.
Well, and it wasn't just like, this was before like Facebook. Like my marriage, it looked like the perfect marriage to everybody, and kids and stay-at-home mom and volunteering at the school and Sunday school teacher, like really the model perfect Leave It to Beaver family, and but the reality is that I was creating something, the control of this illusion of perfectionism made me feel like I had some sense of control in my life, where all these things had happened. I had no control, none. And so I created this illusion so that I could feel like I had some sort of control, but it was awful. Like I was terrified to make a mistake. What were people going to think? So, when I'm posting all this stuff about my journey and acknowledging that I am not the person, like that you think I am at all. And to be open about that. It was terrifying. And I think with my writing and my courage to even post it to begin with, I think people thought it was easy for me, but there were a lot of times where I would literally sob after I posted because I was terrified of what people were going to think of me, judgment, and
But it's all positive though, right? I mean, that's fucking inspiring. I bet you most of those people been waiting and wanting to do that themselves and just keep it bottled up. And now that you've done that, you probably open a door for them and you're changing a lot of people's lives now.
I can see it now as inspiring, but then it was me taking off the masks. I felt so naked, and it was scary.
So to what he was saying, at what point did it get to where you felt when all the masks were off?
I think once I was posting enough and started realizing that it was inspiring, and I was like, oh my God.
Because of the comments and the feedback you're getting?
Yeah. And I started realizing, you think, why did all these things happen to me? Because I'm not a bad person. I'm a good person. I'm loving, I'm caring, I'm kind to other people. Why did I get dealt that hand?
Well, you say in the beginning of the book, you say everything led up to the creation for this book to help other people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so
I
then
think that's awesome.
It is. And so when I started realizing that me sharing my journey, no matter how uncomfortable it was for me, it was helping somebody else. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can take all this shit, all this crap, and I can actually turn it into something good and give it meaning. And rather than it having control over me and dictating how I'm going to experience my life and the fears that I'm going to have around life, I'm going to flip the script on it, and I'm going to take these experiences and help somebody else with them.
You know what that is? Art at its finest. Seriously. You fucking created the best art, but being inspiring for people. I mean, that's seriously art at its finest, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, when you inspire someone.
For sure.
Yeah, I get that with music.
That's probably the most inspiring art, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
healed
it's not,
a lot.
Yeah, you're right. Totally.
When I got clean,
is it cool to talk about that? What were you?
I was addicted to meth.
Meth?
Yeah.
So we were both addicted to opiates. I was addicted to heroin and painkillers and shit, and so
That really wasn't. I think maybe the pills and stuff were probably a thing in my generation, but my generation, oh my gosh, meth was.
One of our best friends is probably 3 years clean now.
Yeah,
3 years clean off meth.
Yeah.
Crazy as you could fucking get with it.
I got pretty bad. I went from point A to point Z real quick.
How old were you when you did that?
that's exactly what I was gonna ask.
So
because I didn't start doing heroin until I was 28, and I was all fucked up from 28 to 35, which is odd just to do that in that age bracket. You know what I mean?
I was the exact opposite.
And he did it like he was doing heroin before doing heroin was cool. It was like we were like all 18 and shit. Like we were like, what is Brian doing? Heroin? What? What the fuck?
Yeah.
But anyway.
So I experimented with a bunch of different things like my junior and senior year of high school. I smoked pot and stuff like earlier than that, my freshman, sophomore year, drinking and stuff. But I started doing heavier drugs in high school. And I think part of it was just experimentation. And I think other parts of it were me trying to fit in with the group I was with and trying to cope with the reality of my stepdad and kind of like a hiding space for me and rebellious behavior, like feeling some sort of control, like, well, I'm going to do this then, that's the control that we take. And then
plus meth is fucking awesome. Like when you smoke it, you know what I mean? It's like a great drug.
Well,
so when you have when you have those problems and you hit, don't get me wrong, like we experimented with meth in high school too. We saw a group of friends go that same route. We could have been that. But when you have all those problems and you smoke fucking meth,
it makes you feel powerful,
shit,
invincible. But it's an illusion.
Totally.
Because then you get addicted, and who has the power now? The drug.
Totally.
But
it's in my opinion, I don't think there's a worse drug.
I don't think so either.
Maybe what
You know why?
fentanyl
It's
is doing
it's
right
like,
now.
well, to me, it's because of the man-made part of it.
Yes.
Like,
Not only that. You're 100% right. It's gross. The
It's just-
drug is
yeah.
It's
gross.
disgusting.
It is gross. You become gross with it. It molds you into that. But it makes you you're 100% right. It makes you feel powerful but it feeds off of that.
it gives you that fucking feeling that fucking everything's great. You love everybody. You want to get a bunch of shit done.
Yeah.
You know? And then 3 days later, you're fucking still up. You're like, fuck, I need more.
It is the worst drug.
It's
though.
the worst.
The worst. There is not a listen. What we saw I thought it was bad before this, but what I saw my one of our best friends go through, what he went through, and some of the stuff that is going on, and that listen, one of the worst things about drugs is not just what it does to you, but the world you have to live in to get the drug.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bad world.
It's a scary world.
It is a very scary world.
And you can get caught up very quick, especially with speed. Like they call it speed for a reason. You can get caught up quick. If you don't mind me asking, did you start with that? It didn't start with that, like cocaine, something like that.
I tried cocaine a few times, but I didn't really care for it. Like, it didn't give me that power surge that I got from meth. Like, it didn't make me feel like I was powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, like, it was at that stage, it was probably more of me being rebellious and wanting to feel like I had some sense of power in my life or control. But I think some of it was also, exploration. Like, at that time, I was not addicted. Like, I did not need it. It was something that we did sometimes on the weekends. Sometimes we did, psychedelics on the weekends.
It was a party thing.
But I smoked weed all the time. And then I got pregnant with my daughter and I quit everything, like absolutely everything. And I stayed clean, like after I had her. And then that's when the attempted murder happened.
Oh,
And
shit.
Yep. And then I started losing myself again. And I turned to meth to help me stay awake because I was absolutely terrified to go to sleep because I was afraid someone's going to kill me.
Audra, that's hardcore.
I know.
Yeah, it was.
That's fucking hardcore.
If you were asking Audra back then, why are you doing this? I would not have had the awareness to tell you I'm doing it because I'm terrified to go to sleep. Like, I knew I didn't want to go to sleep. Like, I knew that's what the reason was, but I don't really know how to explain it.
You don't, yeah,
I get it.
But I also felt powerless in my life. Like, I was having waking nightmares and I needed to feel like I had some sense of power and control in my life.
Drugs fill that void.
Yes.
That missing darkness. It fills that void.
Yeah.
You put it
Trust
best.
me, I know.
This is how the best way I can explain my drug of choice, which is heroin, to people. This drug is so bad that the best way I can explain it is I remember the first time or opioids. The first time that I used opiates, it felt like that warm feeling, that warm blanket of love. It felt like that first time you fell in love. You know what I mean? That butterfly feeling, and it was so great. But the drug is so bad that the first time you use it, you're throwing up, and you're getting super sick. And you're doing that, and then but you're okay.
It's so awesome. You
don't care. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And that's what drugs do. Drugs, they give you that.
They brainwash you.
They brainwash you. You're 100% right. They brainwash you.
Yep. They brainwash you.
How did you finally get off?
So, I got pretty bad with the meth, and then I got pregnant with my son Dylan, and I again quit everything. And right after I had him, I completely lost my mind. Like, I mean, I was on, I was on a mission I just didn't care anymore. I didn't want to be here anymore. Like life was too hard. It was just too hard. So I got spun out pretty bad, but I went from A to Z real fast. So I got clean right before Dylan turned 2. So
You caught yourself, thank God.
Well,
Did
you know,
catch yourself? Did somebody else grab you?
That's what I was gonna say. Was it like family and friends, or was it on your own?
well, you know, like
Because we literally had to drag our fucking friend off the street, and he was barefoot, sunburned, all fuck, and he was fucked up. And we kind of smack him around a little bit. I don't know, did someone do that for you, or did you just do that on your own?
Well, you know, your loved ones, when you're a drug addict, your loved ones are constantly trying to pull you in.
They just don't know how.
No, because you don't have, until you have an aha moment, until you are clean enough to actually have a moment of clarity.
Yeah, so when they actually realize that you want to help yourself.
Yeah, well, then usually when you get to that point, they don't believe you anymore, because you say, you know, like I used to tell my mom, I swear I'm never going to do it again.
Well, the last
and
year,
I meant it.
Yeah.
But
I know what you're saying. Because the last year and a half I was an addict, I knew I didn't want to do this anymore, and it wasn't fun. I wasn't getting high anymore. I was just doing it not to have withdrawals. You know what I mean? It was just a vicious cycle. I was like, this sucks.
Yeah. I think I was clean enough in a moment, and I had an aha moment, and I realized my kids.
Did you go to rehab, or
no?
I did on your own.
Mm-hmm,
So what are the withdrawals like on that? Or
for meth, it's not the same as like with heroin or anything.
Yeah,
like
I know.
Yeah,
But
I didn't know if there was some type of like brain things or brain fog. I don't know.
Because listen, I'll be honest. We had a friend that
he
went through
withdrawed
it.
on your house, right?
Well, he went through it, and he had this some. I mean, he was full on. Listen, he was bad. Like he was another level of meth. I mean, he was slamming meth, and you go through a psychosis. I mean, when you're on meth, you're literally almost a stage of psychosis when you're up so long, and it's bad. It's not good.
I used to hallucinate.
Yeah.
I used to see demons, angels. Yep. I would see people's face melting, and I would know like who they really were.
Mm-hmm.
It was like This Present Darkness, but it wasn't just a
Our
book.
friend has this whole weird lingo in society.
Well, how long did it take for you to get out of that thought process? I mean,
you know,
because some of that shit really sticks with you. Like you
mean like side effect wise?
Side effect, like they they think people are out to get them for even a while after.
I don't
being
think
clean.
I did it long enough.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I don't think I did it long enough for that, and I also think that some of that kind of is going into like an overdose. You haven't quite overdosed, but you're teetering on the overdose, so it's internally really messing you up.
You know what else it is? Back when we were hardcore in drugs, and most likely you went the same time, the two never shall meet. Heroin addicts and meth addicts, the two never shall meet.
No.
They hated each other. The two never shall meet. Something happened in the last 20 years.
They're combining it.
Where they met and they went, holy shit, this is great.
Oh,
with
God.
Coke also.
Yeah. And
we're talking about slamming it together.
I'm talking about slamming it and using it together, and they would slam it.
That's a fucking death sentence, by the way.
And that shit is so fucking scary. And there definitely is a psychosis with that sticks with people, and that's scary.
You're fucking pretty much telling your heart to go slow and fast at the same time.
Well, you're also, I mean, when you have that much chemical, you could be creating some brain damage. How do you recover from that? You know?
Fuck yeah.
I think I never use needles either. So I don't think that I got deep enough for those effects, you know, like lingering effects of hallucinating and stuff like that.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Do you fuck with cannabis these days, or?
No, I haven't. You know, like I'm a professional nanny, so
You can't have that look. The stoner nanny.
Yeah, you definitely can't have that look.
I believe though in the healing of it. I believe in plant medicine.
We put some CBD stuff in your Ladmo bag. It doesn't have THC in it or anything, but it'll help for like pains and aches and stuff. He actually was talking about it, our sponsor. So
yeah, thank you. Yeah, I definitely believe in plant medicine. If my job, if I wasn't responsible for another human being, I might consider, partaking.
That's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. That type. I respect that. I respect that 100%. That's the way it should be.
You still take a little hit at night.
But I don't need to. I've been interested in getting more knowledgeable about CBD because I mean, I went through cognitive therapy and everything, and I have healed tremendously, but I am still,
have you tried CBD and stuff, or
no?
Because it helps a lot with them, not just aches and pains, but anxiety and stuff like that too,
Yeah,
so.
and I recently kind of unraveled with COVID and everything. Like after a while, it just you can't take anymore, and people are getting really crazy, and everyone's unraveling, and just
It's a little stressful.
It was very it's been stressful, and I'm a nanny, so the little guy I nanny has been home since March. Like we're talking a 6-month summer, and he's a great kid, but right now it's hot as fuck outside. There's nothing to do, and like when it was nice out in March, when they, sent the kids home, they closed all the playgrounds at that time. And when they opened them back up, it's too hot. There's been nothing to do, nowhere to go. So it's like it's not like I'm dealing with this horrible child.
That's definitely a time to take a hit.
It's,
I mean, Jesus. I mean, I can think of a better time. Jesus.
Oh, that's funny. But that was wearing on me, and the publishing was extremely stressful, and
congratulations on that. That's
thank
cool.
you very much.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah, especially that's great that it's happening. This is something that is very important in your life right now with the COVID stuff. You need a little extra loving in your life with this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody does. Like, one of the crazy things is not having human to human activities
or interaction.
Yeah, interaction.
Like,
that is hardcore.
Like when guests come over, I don't know if I should like give them a high five or a hug or whatever. Now I'm just
elbows.
like, hey,
yeah,
hey,
looking good.
Hey, how's it going? Because I don't know how they feel about
Right.
everything. Because everyone's so opposite end of the spectrum with their thoughts on COVID and masks and. Because so when I grabbed her, I could tell you were like, she's like, should I bring a mask? Because I had my mask on, but I don't honestly give a fuck. I just do it to respect all the people who do.
Yeah.
And they ask in the complex to wear a mask, so I just do it just because I don't want to.
You don't want to be an asshole.
Well, I don't want to be an asshole, but I also don't want to have to deal with those mask Nazis. Some guys like, fucking put on a mask. I'm gonna talk shit back.
Listen,
I'm just trying to avoid any trouble.
Yeah, this is really easy. Just don't be an asshole. Yeah. Just don't be an asshole.
See how we did that together?
That's going to be a clip.
You need
don't
to
be an ass. Ready?
Nope.
You have to do it and then do the stare afterwards.
Yeah.
Don't be an asshole.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a shirt.
For the awkward amount of time.
It probably is.
Yeah, it's probably
like
already
you thought of that?
Yeah, I've been waiting to use that. The shirt is up for sale now already.
Yeah, shit. Right on. Oh, fuck. But, well, I just want to say we really appreciate you coming on the show. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah,
you got to come back
anytime. I mean,
because we got to talk more about this. I definitely want people to have some stuff to go read because they need to go check out this book, Moving Mountains.
There's a lot of stuff in there. I talk about in depth all the traumas, everything that you read in chapter 1. I am very explicit with the details on that, very honest. Talk about cognitive therapy. I actually even have Facebook posts in there so that the readers can see what I was actually experiencing in real time, what I was learning, and the awareness that was coming forth from the therapy. And
that's very important.
I really hope that it can help other people see that the demons that they're fighting have been fought before.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
I want to talk about next time too, the hypnotherapy.
Yeah.
That sounds very interesting.
Yep. It's very powerful. And
you know how to do that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you could hypnotize us?
Sure.
Not happening, bro.
You go in and out of hypnosis all the time. You just don't even realize that it's happening.
Can you like hypnotize them and get them to do like weird shit?
No, because
You know what I'm talking about? Like they do, like I saw on Donahue once.
The
like, when I was a
stage
kid.
hypnotherapy.
Like
you're dancing around, screaming,
yeah,
jumping around like an asshole.
Yeah, they make you think you're a chicken or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
why.
do that.
That's why people are afraid of hypnotherapy.
Yeah, because of those assholes.
Here's the deal with hypnotherapy. You have, if you're someone who wants to cluck like a chicken, you will. But if you don't want to, like a hypnotherapist,
I think McClay wants to do
someone who's put you under hypnosis does not have control over your mind. That is a myth. And I think stage hypnotherapy
it's staged.
It is. And it also some of it might be real, but it gives hypnotherapy a bad name because it scares people and makes them think that the hypnotherapist has control over your mind. And that is absolutely
it's really more about changing thoughts, right?
It is.
Yeah. I think my dad went to one to quit smoking like in the 80s.
Yeah. It's called smoking cessation.
Yeah. They still do that, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it works.
It works.
Yeah.
I don't think it worked on him. Not to say that it didn't work.
Well, he probably wasn't ready.
He probably wasn't ready.
No. Yeah. Because if you're ready, it's absolutely helpful. And I think that, it helped me a lot in my healing journey. It's just that I was silenced for so long. I think it was crucial for my healing to actually talk, say it. I had hidden it within myself for literally decades.
Did you feel a tension just out of your whole body, just relief, like literally like weight off your shoulders, like physically?
It was excruciating going through the process of cognitive therapy and writing the book, because it not only did I not process the traumas, but I didn't process any of the emotions that went with the traumas. So
and then you're doing it all at once.
Yep. And I found myself in this reality right here and having the emotions that went with a reality that happened like more than 20 years ago. And it's like, I felt like I was living two different lives at the same time. And it was really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's totally worth it. I would rather face it head on and actually, there's a chapter in there called Meeting the Puppet Master. And it's talking about how I met all these beliefs that were literally controlling my entire life. And to cut those strings, I'm not the puppet anymore. But that was really hard to see that I had been living a lot of my life.
You're like a puppet of your own thoughts.
Yeah.
Bad thoughts.
We all are.
Yeah.
A puppet of our own beliefs.
I know. I just love the way that the wording of that sounds.
Yeah.
Genius.
So.
Yeah, I think we all have that. We all have things.
Absolutely.
The thing is though, like the version of you that you have is that's the only version there is.
Yeah.
The version that you have is that interaction with that person, and there's all those different versions of you.
I wrote about that in my book.
Really?
I
don't know where I got that from. I didn't make that up. I got that from a podcast that I heard, but that really opened my eyes to my own thinking, because I realized, wow, because you do have just certain interactions with certain people of your lives, and then that's their version, just those interactions,
Yeah.
But then I have my own thoughts of how I am, even with that person, is completely different.
Yeah. There's thousands of versions of you walking around.
Literally, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, quantum theory.
Not that I would want to, but could you hypnotize me to stop smoking weed?
Yeah.
Really?
It would probably take several.
Him.
It would probably take several sessions.
What a dick. What a fucking asshole.
Next time, can you come on and do that without him knowing?
No, that's mind control. You're going back to manipulation, and that's not what hypnosis is. You're not manipulating. You're you're rewiring.
What other kinds of things can you hypnotize that are positive for people, just addictions and things like that?
Addiction, relaxation. People, yeah.
That's probably
that sounds
a big
awesome.
one, yeah.
Hypnotherapy is basically guided meditation.
Yeah.
But it's so if you if you want to accomplish something other than finding a deep state of relaxation, it's specific. So you say specific things within that guided meditation, but ultimately that's really what it is. It's getting down to this is our conscious mind. Our subconscious mind is aware 24 hours a day. Right now, this is our conscious mind interacting with each other, and it just helps you kind of bypass that conscious mind, because that's a lot of chatter. The conscious mind is a lot of just chatter.
I don't think I can turn that's a big problem I have. I don't think
that's everyone's problem.
Yeah,
I can't turning your brain off, especially when you go to bed and your mind starts racing. That's why you need to do the self-deprivation tanks. And
I can't get into REM sleep.
That's because of the cannabis. Cannabis prevents you from getting into REM sleep. You never will with the amount of weed you smoke, bro. I'm telling you.
Does it really?
Take off smoking weed for 3 days and you'll have lucid dreams. I guarantee it. Yeah, guaranteed. Joe Rogan does this thing called...
How does it keep you from REM sleep?
Everyone thinks that cannabis... Well, it does. It helps you go to sleep faster and stuff like that, but like
you can't
the
reach that
THC actually just... I don't know how the science behind it, but it actually prevents you from getting REM sleep. So I don't dream. And the reason why is because I'm a fucking huge stoner. I smoke from when I wake up till I go to bed. And that's not necessarily a good thing. But like, for example, how I figured this out is Joe Rogan does this thing called Sober October. And the very first week when he first did the Sober October, he's like, holy shit, I'm having the craziest dreams. And he was wondering if it was because of the cannabis. Sure as shit, he has a sleep expert on, and he went into a deep dive of how cannabis actually prevents you from going to REM sleep, which makes sense because I don't fucking dream. And that's when you dream, is when you get into the REM sleep. So take a few days off.
Thanks, Bucky.
Fuck you. No.
Yeah, you definitely have to come back on. We really appreciate you spending the time with us. There's no reason you shouldn't. So
there isn't. There really isn't.
No.
Do you want to do your shout outs, McClay?
Yeah. Check out Tales from the Flip Side. New Star Wars show over there. It's pretty dope. If you guys want to learn how to make money off of selling comics, there is a new show on there called Modern Playbook. People telling you what to buy, when to buy, and learn a little bit. So check that shit out. Check out Absolute Geek every Friday night at 7:30 Arizona time.
Hempel.
Yeah, shout out to Hempel Farms. Fuck yeah. Shout out to Chris Martin, Hempel Farms. Shout out to his badass new shoes that he just put out, Convicted Creations, little slip-on, like old school Converse style shoes that he put out. Those are pretty dope.
I'm going to have him make a 10,000 milligram Zonka bar.
Suppository.
I'll do it. Fuck it.
This guy cannot get stoned.
I can get stoned, but like...
He can't get stupid stoned.
Yeah, like off edibles, like... we've talked about it a million times on here. I just so Chris Martin's I'm gonna have him make me like a very strong edible and see what happens. And he's suggesting I put it in my ass. Why not?
Yeah, we'll see how it works.
Anyway, just kidding.
Yeah.
It's a lot to go through to get high.
Yeah.
Well, he'll take like I said this on the last podcast. He'll take a 20-30 milligram fucking gummy bear like this big. I remember when I first started taking edibles when I was at your house, and you gave me a gummy bear, and you go, bro, it's 15 milligrams, and you go, just take the ear. This is gonna fuck you up. Just the ear, bro. I was like,
just the ear.
Seriously. So I took this little fucking bear. I was like, Jesus.
You have to.
And I took the ear off and I ate it, and I didn't feel shit. Then the next day, I fucking took the ear off and like his little leg. Didn't feel shit. I'm like, fuck this. And the next day I took the whole. I didn't feel nothing. And since then, I still have been like.
But listen,
he still gets fucked up off the 15 milligrams. I've taken 1,500 milligrams, and it just doesn't do anything. I don't know what it is. It's not me trying to be cool, but there's just a certain group of people, their body and shit just doesn't fucking process it right or what. I don't know what the fuck. So.
Well, here's the thing. Me doing that and telling you just to take an ear was not being a fucking pussy. That was being a responsible stoner. Because you always tell people, take the smallest amount of edibles
me.
to find out
I
where
say take 2.
You got to find your threshold.
Yeah, fucking A.
Yeah.
You fucking A. And one more big shout out. Shout out to the fucking Phoenix Suns for getting outed live on the fucking internet. We have a seat for you on the Bogcast if you guys want to give a rebuttal.
They're not coming, dude.
Hell
you think
no.
they're gonna
That
acknowledge
shit
that?
was funny. That shit was funny.
You can get that story on our bonus footage on our Patreon.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks again to Audra for coming on. You can get her book Moving Mountains, Hero's Journey on Amazon. Where can we find you on social media?
I'm on my author page is audrareneweeks. My personal page is audrareneweeks. Instagram is audrareneweeks, and website is audrareneweeks.com.
Cool. Sweet.
Nice and easy.
Yep.
Actually, can you hand me that slate right there? Oh, actually. Awesome. And that is a wrap on episode 97 of the Bogcast.